The time is 6:32. I will now call the October 7th, 2024 meeting of the Common Council of the City of Lawrence to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and prayer.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All bow our heads, please. Dear Father, we come to you today asking for your great counsel, asking for your wisdom and your discernment to be blessed upon each and every one of us. We ask that you keep everyone in the city safe. With a special prayer for our public safety officers, police, and fire. We have a prayer for our community at whole. Please, 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 Lord, keep the wickedness, keep the despair, all of those negative things out of our city. And Lord, we just want to see sunshine and your will and spirit to be filled within each and every one of us. And we ask all these things in the most highest, most precious, and glorious name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Let the record reflect that we have 9 councilors present. This meeting has been properly noticed in accordance with the Indiana Open Door Law. Copies of the agenda are located at the back of the meeting room. Also, for any citizens wishing to speak under citizens' comments later in the agenda, please sign in using the sign-in sheet located at the back of the meeting room. Next, we have comments of the council members and special recognitions or resolutions.
Madam President,
Yes, sir.
something that came to my attention the other day, almost by accident, but something that if you're driving on Pendleton Pike, and this is in regard to the new medians that the NDOT's put in, but if you're trying to make a left turn at a stoplight on Pendleton Pike, that if there is another car that is trying to make a right turn, trying to go in the direction that you came from, what the problem is both turn arrows come on, the green arrows come on simultaneously for your left turn and his right turn. And if you're trying to execute a U-turn, you're going to have a head-on collision, or the good potential of it. And I spoke with my insurance carrier, which happened to be State Farm, just out of curiosity about this, and State Farm's already paid claims on this, and they've had this incident happen. And out of curiosity, I just asked her, I said, so who's at fault? You got 2 people that's got the green arrow, and U-turns are now supposedly legal because of the median situation. She said that if you're in making the left turn, you have to stay in the farmost lane to the median, the inside lane. So you can't deviate from that, which that's a really sharp U-turn, which I'm not sure most vehicles can make. And if you're in the side street wanting to make the right turn, you have to stay in the far right lane. And so I asked her, I said, well, what about the middle lane? And she said, well, that's no man's zone. If you're in the middle lane, have an accident, it's basically no fault. But she said, bear in mind that if there is any possibility of a waiver in the claims, it would probably fall upon the person making a U-turn. So anyway, I just wanted to make everybody aware of that, because I certainly wasn't aware that them lights changed at the same time together. And because I almost had a head-on with a guy that was making a U-turn. And one other thing I would like to ask is the 2 lobbyists that we hired back in the beginning of the year, once we get this budget matter resolved, I would ask the administration to have them stand before us and give us an update on what they have accomplished for the year, because the year is coming to an end. And also, if we have time, I read in the newspaper that there's a shortfall in the stormwater budget, and if we could possibly get an explanation on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other counselors?
Madam President?
Yes.
I would like to mention, I would like for the council to look at having the council appointees on boards report to the full council quarterly at the first of the month for council meetings to keep us updated on information, please.
Thank you, Counselor. Any others?
Madam President,
Yes, Counselor.
as members of this council, we hold a profound responsibility to act as stewards of the city's finances. Our furthermost duty is to ensure that our budget we approve is transparent, balanced, and truly reflective of the needs of our community. Unfortunately, throughout this year's budget process, we face persistent and troubling barriers due to the actions of the city controller. At every turn, our requests for critical financial information have been met with delays, incomplete answers, or outright refusal. This lack of cooperation not only frustrates our efforts to fulfill our obligation, but also erodes the public's trust in the budget process itself. We as elected representatives owe it to our citizens to uphold a transparent process and one in which every dollar is accounted for and every department receives the resources necessary to serve our city effectively. The budget currently before us is neither balanced nor responsible, and it employs questionable tactics to obscure financial shortfalls while depriving essential services such as public safety and public works of the funding they desperately need. This is not a budget that serves the best interest of our city. We are deeply concerned by the controller's inability to provide the necessary leadership and oversight in managing the city's finances. His failure to engage with the council undermines the very foundation of good governance. The citizens of our city deserve better. This council stands united to committing transparency, accountability, and integrity to this process. We will not rest until we have a budget that is clear, fair, and serves the people of our community. Our commitment is and always will be to the people that we represent. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Kramer. Very good.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? The Common Council of the City of Lawrence is in receipt of a petition of taxpayers objecting to budget, tax rate, and levy regarding the proposed 2025 budget. As directed by Indiana Code 6-1.1-17-5C, the council will receive testimony from the city's administration and making findings concerning the objections in the petition and any testimony presented at the adoption hearing before adopting the 2025 budget. The council and its committees will address the petition and the proposed 2025 budget at its open public meetings. Any other comments? Okay. Next, we will have the approval of the minutes for the meeting of September the 18th, 2024. Are there any questions or corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, councilors. Further discussion? We will now proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Nay.
One nay. 8 yes. Thank you, councilors. Oh, got to do individual vote. Councilor Giles,
Yes.
Councilor Wells,
No.
Councilor Chavis,
Yes.
Councilor Kramer,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson, yes. Councilor Kramer? Oh, Jennings, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Councilor Freeman,
Yes.
Councilor Crone,
Yes.
Councilor
Missouri, yes.
Missouri. Thank you. Next, we will have the signing of the vouchers, approval of claims, and authorization of payment.
I'll make the motion.
Make a motion to approve.
For the
Second.
claims,
I have a few questions. Yes, please.
Okay.
Did we get a second and then
Yes,
discussion?
yes. Counselor Jennings did a second, and now we have a discussion.
Gotcha. I had a few questions about some of the things on the vouchers. Humphrey, if I could. I had sent it in the email. I know it was in a chain with some other questions, so maybe it just got mixed over. But there were a few items that I had some questions about. One was for the Lockmuller Group. It's payments that we made in the amounts of $15,776.85. It says that it was for instructor recertification. I was just wondering if you could explain what that was for exactly.
Is it for Lockmuller, you said?
Yeah, Lockmuller Group.
If it's okay with you, because I did receive several questions regarding claims, and I've been responding them. I'm not sure I saw your questions, but if it's
Can
okay with you,
re-forward them,
I'd be happy to take these questions and then get back to you in the shortest time possible.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Is that just Lockmuller?
Yeah, I'll just refrain from voting yes.
Okay.
I also have a question. Are you finished, Counselor? I also have a question, and thank you for responding to my questions. And this is regarding the Cry Wolf. Thank you for a copy of that contract. The contract was signed in 2015. I will forward it to the other counselors. I just received it this evening. But what I didn't see in this contract is a monthly or annual fee. You make a payment to them. I didn't see that. Thank you.
Cardboard doesn't have a particular monthly fee. It's based off of the assessed fees that are collected. So the city receives 71%, and then the company who manages it gets 29%.
Okay. 7129. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. We will now proceed to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
I'm going to
We would-
abstain from voting as I was not able to have my questions answered before I was.
Okay. One abstain. One no.
Will you do a vote?
We'll do a roll call. Okay, roll call. Counselor Giles.
Aye.
Counselor Wells.
No.
Counselor Chavis.
Yes.
Counselor Kramer.
I abstain.
Counselor Robinson. Yes. Counselor Jennings.
Aye.
Counselor Freeman.
Yes.
Counselor Crone.
Yes.
Counselor Masur.
Yes.
Thank you, counselors. We will now have reports of committees. I, as chair of the council of the Committee of the Whole, have a report from that committee. The Committee of the Whole met on September the 24th, 2024, and recommended a favorable recommendation for Resolution 8, 2024, with amendments. The Committee of the Whole met on September 24th, 2024, and recommended a favorable recommendation for Resolution 9, 2024. The Committee of the Whole met on September 25th, 2024, and no official action was taken at that meeting. Are there any reports for the committees? Any other reports, statements? Okay, we will go on to new business. Madam Clerk, would you please read the title of the amendment to ordinance number 7, 2024 into the record?
Amendment to Ordinance Number 7, 2024, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Lawrence, Indiana, amending the Lawrence Municipal Code to establish always stop intersections at Highview Court and Winding Creek Place, Pine Grove Court and Winding Creek Drive, and West Ridge Circle and Winding Creek Place.
The Common Council adopted Ordinance 7, 2024 at the July 17, 2024 meeting. Upon further review, the Common Council has determined that the intersections now have an excessive and unnecessary number of stop signs. This ordinance will be referred to the committee as a whole. Okay?
Council President, I would like to recommend that we table that until after the budget so that we can focus on the CBA, the budget, and other resolutions before us.
Okay.
Require a second? I would second.
Okay, vote.
I don't know if we needed one.
Yeah.
You did a second? Okay, Kramer did a second. Jennings did the initial. Thank you,
Madam
Council.
President, if I could,
Yes.
wouldn't that, or shouldn't that be in the code committee? Or am I missing something?
No, you're not. It can go to code.
Okay.
Thank you. New business? The next business item is Resolution Number 10, 2024. Madam Clerk, would you please read the title of the resolution into record?
Resolution number 10, 2024, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Lawrence, Indiana, concerning approval of transfer of funds.
Since the following resolutions all pertain to the budget, Madam Clerk, would you mind reading them all so that we can refer them? All of them, okay, all of them, okay.
Resolution number 8, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Lawrence, Indiana, concerning approval of collective bargaining agreement between the City of Lawrence and the Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge 159, effective January 1, 2025. Resolution number 9, 2024, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Lawrence, Indiana, concerning approval of collective bargaining agreement between the City of Lawrence and the Lawrence Professional Firefighters Association, Local 416, effective January 1, 2025. Resolution number 10, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Lawrence, Indiana, concerning approval of transfer of funds. Proposal number 12, an ordinance fixing salaries of appointed officers and employees of the Police Department and the Fire Department for the year 2025. Proposal number 13, 2024, an ordinance establishing compensation for elected officials for the City of Lawrence, Indiana for the year 2025 and providing a time when the time shall take effect. Proposal number 14, an ordinance fixing salaries of appointed officers and employees of the City of Lawrence, Indiana for the year 2025. Proposal number 15, an additional appropriation ordinance for the year 2024. Proposal number 16, ordinance for appropriations and tax rates for the year 2025.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. I have some corrections. Under new business, we are referring to resolution number 10, proposal number 12, proposal number 13, proposal number 14, proposal number 15, and proposal number 16, all under new business, will be referred to the committee as a whole. Next, we will have unfinished business and resolutions number 8. Madam Clerk, do you mind reading that one again?
Resolution number 8, 2024, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Lawrence, Indiana, concerning approval of collective bargaining agreement between the City of Lawrence and the Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge 159, effective January 1, 2025.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. This resolution will be referred to the committee as a whole. Next, we have resolution number 9. Madam Clerk, will you read this resolution into the record?
Resolution number 9, 2024, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Lawrence, Indiana, concerning approval of collective bargaining agreement between the City of Lawrence and the Lawrence Professional Firefighters Association, Local 416, effective January 1, 2025.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This resolution will be referred to the committee as a whole. Next, we will have comments of the administration.
Hi there, Madam President. My name is Zachary Brown. I'm the Chief of Staff for the City of Lawrence. I just wanted to make note that you referred Resolutions 8 and 9 this evening back to the Committee of the Whole. It was my understanding that that made it through the committee with a favorable recommendation at the last meeting. Can you clarify, please?
There were some questions that need to be responded to. And with the sponsors. Yeah, we had sponsors for number 8 and number 9. Yeah.
Okay. Once again, I will just make the point that we have myself, our attorney from Faegre Drinker, who helped negotiate this, both union presidents and many members of both the FOP and the firefighters here tonight. We'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Okay. Questions?
I think the outstanding questions are related to the budget, right? So I don't think anyone other than the controller can answer those questions. And I think we've already asked those questions via email. And I'm hoping that we have responses for committee of the whole meeting that's scheduled for tomorrow. But we don't have them as of now.
I got a few questions.
Understand?
Madam President, if you could just clarify those questions, because I believe I've responded to all the budget-related questions that we received, but I may have missed any of those.
So we had specific questions related to debt services and the amount. We also had questions related to the proposed increase for 2025, not only for public safety, but for civil and elected officials, and specifically where those expenses are going to be covered, either via the GO bond or the ARPA fund, in addition to all of the benefits that were increased from 24 to 25.
And I believe that those were...
And not at a high level, like at a line level.
Correct.
At a detailed line level.
Correct. So the first question that I believe at the last meeting was asked was the transfers that were taken out of the general fund to use other sources of funding, which was the ARP and the GO bond. I believe that was addressed by line item and sent with the whole packet that the council received regarding the the petitions of objections.
That's that paper you just had that didn't really have it like that, I don't think.
Yeah, that showed the line item and the expenses, but tied specifically to the GO bond and or the ARPA funds by each one. So if we have an increase in X benefit, how much is that benefit and where specifically is that coming from? I haven't seen that level of detail, and that's what I need to see. I don't know what everyone else needs to see.
Okay.
I got a couple questions if you want to answer.
I'll take notes on them.
I sent you a screenshot. We thought that maybe we got them a little early, but it's okay. So I can read a couple to you. So it says, within the proposed 2025 budget, there appears to be a few funds which are projecting negative net revenue. Specific funds, 224, which is the public safety fund. The net revenue appears to reduce the balance. The net revenue appears to be reduced the balance considerably. An explanation for this should be provided. The council will want to be sure the plan for this fund is sustainable beyond 2025.
And so that fund has always been in the negative. If you go back history, since 2020 when I first came in this city, it's always had higher expenses than the revenues coming in. But the way we've been able to sustain that fund is we've always been able to pull some funds from the reserves, and that has been consistent throughout the years. I can demonstrate that. It's always been about 500, 600,000. We've always pulled to be able to balance that fund in the end, but it's always been a negative fund.
Right. So those are the kind of concerns that we have. The Public Safety Fund is one of the major funds, right, that funds the CBA, that funds the collective bargaining agreement, right?
Correct.
Right? Okay. So when that fund's in a negative, and the answer to me is, it's not a plan for the future, you're just saying that historically, or you take five, okay, so let's say your plan for the future is you take the 500,000 or 600,000 out, right? Is that in the budget?
To be able to pull from the reserves?
Yeah, if you're saying that it's a negative fund, and the plan, and historically it's negative, and the historical plan is to take $500,000 to backfill it out of the general fund, is that budgeted?
So it's not in the budget.
Right, so then that's an appropriation, right?
It would be an
So
appropriation.
there we go, adding more to the line of where I'm saying, what I was trying to point out to you, that the reserves keep diving. Every time I ask a question, it's a dive in the reserve. So when you tell me you got a forecast, that forecast is us to be at 21%. But in reality, the forecast is bogus because every time I ask a question that comes with appropriation, it digs early. I just left out a room out of there, and now we're like, well, it looks like it's going to be probably 19, right? So every time I look up, so I'm also trying to see, can you make a commitment to me of how much the appropriations are going to be in January and where the reserve is really going to be so that we can hold a line? Is it 14%? Or is it really 20? I want real shit, real stuff.
So for 2026, one of the things that we proposed is to use other sources of funding for the 2026 budget. The the items that have been shifted from the general fund to ARP and the GEO bond amount to about $4 million. And I believe I did send those out by line item. So we're also projecting in 2026 to increase our revenues with a 4% max levy to about $1 million.
Right. And I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
So the remainder $3 million is what we are hoping, we are projecting on, and we did run some numbers. We're projecting on getting a bond, another GEO bond, and that's the only way we can sustain our rate up there. So if we get that, then that should be able to cover that.
I'm listening. I'm hearing bonds and I'm hearing hope and bonds, right? So now that leads me to other questions I have. Can the council be provided with line item notes of the variances that exceed the 2024 revised budget by 4%? That's one other question. Which debt obligations are expected new for the 2025 budget but was not included in the 2024 tax rate? Those are all the sorts of things that I want to see not just spoken out here, but written, responded to, strategized, and sold to me so that I can look at the men and women in this room confidently and say, what I did for you in 24 is going to take care of you in 27. Not sell these people wolf tickets. I'd rather walk out of here an honest man and not base your house. I don't base my house off of hope. I base my house off of solid things, right? And if the money's tight, we cut before we base on hope.
So like I said, we've done projections. We've done projections.
But your projections don't include the appropriations that you're going to be bringing. You haven't said, well, this is the projections including plus the appropriations. That's not a clear projection if you know you're going to appropriate, but I don't know what the number is.
The only appropriation right now that we have is, like I said, is on the public safety tax, and this is something that has happened in the past, has always happened.
So the only appropriation for this budget is $600,000.
As of now.
Write that down for me. I like to see that commitment. If that's committed, and we'll hold you to it. You have my support if that's the case.
And that's just as of now because that's what we've always done historically. Now,
Our expenses will be greater than our historical.
our expenses are always going up. That's correct.
Yeah, so the 600,000 That's essentially what he's saying is what I'm asking you to do is to quantify the 600,000. You're going to come back for appropriation. So that's not coming from the GO bond or from ARPA. That's over and above, right?
Correct.
And so for the other increases, for like, say, civil city, what's being proposed, and for elected official, for what's being proposed, where are those being paid out of? What are those being paid out of?
Those have already been factored in the budget. So
No, the reason why I asked that, because the elected official one said date to be determined, which made me think the money's not there, or it would be effective January 1 like all the other salary ordinances, right? I mean, so that's the only reason why I'm questioning that.
And the only reason that they were flattened out is because they're not guaranteed, because they're not in any contract like CBA, like the union contract. So that's why we saw it fit to not include those assumptions there and just leave it flat. And that's why you heard the to be determined statement. It's just because they're not, I mean, we typically get them every year, increases every year, but it's not guaranteed for civil city. And that's why it was flattened out.
I think it was only flattened for elected official was the
Not for
only ones
elected.
that said date to be determined, not the civil city.
It was the civil city, actually. On the document that you received last meeting,
Okay,
I
okay.
believe it's all flattened for civil city.
One other question I have for now, why, so if you, now a little, if you know that you're gonna have, that the appropriations that you were speaking of that we may have to do earlier was gonna be because of the public safety fund, and it's usually around 600,000 or so, and you had some projections, why wouldn't you just include that in the budget so we don't have to deal with that?
Because it's always good, the intention is to show everyone exactly the financial health of public safety tax and show us exactly, we could have added an unreserved line item for 600,000, but again, that's all the council's discretion on whether or not they're going to approve that appropriation, and that's why we are coming for you.
Well, why does it have to be an appropriation? Am I missing something?
Because you're pulling it from the reserve.
But he's asking you, why didn't you just include it in the budget?
The 600,000? We could have put it, the only way we could have included it on the line, on the budget would have been an unreserved line item.
Because I believe there was extra money left over in the, I can't remember if it was the GO. I think there was like 600 and some thousand.
ARP.
Or ARP. So it could have been pulled from there and not the reserves.
I shouldn't have to ask, we've had so many extra meetings, so much extra time, so many extra things filed to try to pull this information. And so I'm saying, for transparency's sake, for understanding's sake, for simplicity's sake, why isn't it just in the book where everything is there? And I know that we don't appropriate, it's not customary, like that 600,000. I don't recall, I could be wrong, but
We did that the past
every
2
year,
years.
every year we do appropriation in
I can
January for the
demonstrate that.
600,000?
Correct. It's not 600,000
Or
exactly.
whatever the money is, we do an appropriation to backfill every year into those things.
Including last year, and I can
Last year we did
demonstrate
it, but I remember us doing a few this upcoming year.
The public safety tax has always been over budgeted. That's just the reality, because the revenues that we get cannot sustain the expenditures, and they keep going up. They've never gone down, so there's no way it will balance out.
So I think the concern is the reserves, right? That we're starting to get to a point where we're, every year going to go down a little bit projected, right? So if that money is there and left over in ARPA, why wouldn't we just use those funds?
Again, for the purpose of this proposed budget, it's just to show everyone the financial state of everything. It wouldn't make sense for us to bring it positive to indicate public safety is on a positive note when it's really not. So yes, there are other sources that we can use to bridge that gap. But those are conversations that we can have. We do have the ARP that needs to be expended by December of 2024, encumbered by December of 2024. It's 632,000. That could well easily fit on there. But for the purposes of this proposed budget, it was basically to give you the state of the finances and where they stand.
Yeah, that makes
without trying
sense.
to do that.
And I think it's two-part, right? The state of the finances, but then the plan to cover the deficits and making sure that we understand what they are and how they're going to be funded, and that we're able to keep, a healthy reserve,
Correct.
not only, next year, but 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now.
I thought we were also too, so making sure I'm kind of pulling this all together because we just had so much conversation. So the appropriation that we take to in January, you're saying every year, is that to right size overtime?
In January every year?
You saying we take a appropriation because public safety fund is always in the negative. When we take that appropriation to put the money in there, does that now kind of right side what I'm seeing the overtime being off? Like, you told me before you were taking that we would appropriate, and now I'm trying to pull this all together through the previous conversations to see that $600,000 or $700,000 or $500,000, whatever the number is, that public safety needs through an appropriation. Is that to right size their, like, what were you going to do with that?
It's not just overtime.
Because the overtime projections are off in the book.
Right. It's not just overtime, it's basically all of public safety needs.
Will it handle
including-
all of that? So
Yes,
like
yes.
that's what I'm saying, will it handle, it won't be addition to.
Right.
That will handle all of the things that we see that are a little off.
Because if you look at the public safety budget on 224, you have the personal lines, you have service and charges, you have outlay, and then you have the total.
Right.
And that's what's showing to be over budgeted, the total of all of that. And yes, it would cover all of public safety expenses.
Right, so this year, so far, since we just got the year-to-date till August, I think one of my fellow counselors said we were $20,000 or $30,000 left remaining for the remainder of the year. So you underestimated on your appropriation for this year? Because we look like we're in trouble as far as the overtime budget is of the year. I imagine when we see September, we're probably at zero.
I don't know, but I mean, I can have my advisor speak on the public safety in terms of.
No, I'm saying, what I'm also trying to say, you're saying that every year we take an appropriation to right side the public safety fund so that it right sides the public safety budgets, right? And so that would incorporate everything, overtime and everything that's included with it. Well, I'm saying if you do it every year and it's something that you're used to doing and it's something that we typically do, then when I look at the monthly reports and we review them, right now, it looks like we're underestimated on overtime for the department. And so I'm just saying that maybe that's something we should note to make sure that when we take the appropriation in January, that it's all right side, that it's the appropriate amount. I mean, am I tracking or am I off? I just want to make sure making this make sense.
I'm not sure, I'd have to review that, but the one thing that what I'm suspecting, you're looking at a line item in public safety of overtime. It's probably on the negative, but you have to look at it holistic, and not just fire or police, but the whole of it. And then from the general fund as well.
What is looking at it holistically? What does that mean? I don't know.
So public safety, all of personal lines, personal services
Because
lines.
you could pull from other personnel lines to backfill over there?
So remember, yes, so for instance, in 2024.
Why didn't you pull it before you give me the report then? So it makes sense to me, so you can bounce, so you can reconcile the account. So you're telling me if there's 20 lines and some of the lines have money and the other one don't, you can pull from the lines to put into the overtime to make sure that we're okay.
Correct.
Well, as a regular, just a counselor, I want to look at this as a snapshot, right? I shouldn't have to come here and ask you a million questions to figure that out, or I should be able to read this and see it clearly. So I'm asking you, if that's the case, when you're doing your monthly report and you're doing your job in there, I'm asking you that you make that look as clean as possible so that it's like looking at a P&L, right? I want to know it. I want to see my balance sheet. I want to see my P&L cleanly so that I can formulate a view. So I think that unfairly, I'm formulating views that are not fair to you because you have a plan that I don't see on paper.
And that can be done. The only reason it
I
hasn't
think
been
it
done.
should be done.
And
It's the whole purpose of those reports being sent to us. If they're not clean, they're useless.
the only reason we've always done those internally, that's operational. Why
This is a
when it
new
comes to
time, new
moving?
I just want it clean so we can
We can
read
do
it,
that.
Right?
We
If
can
it's
do that.
confusing to me, I know it's confusing to others.
Well, I would have to add that for the new counselors, it would be the more data that we have in this right here, the quicker we can learn. Agreed? Would everybody agree with that?
Yes.
So the more stuff we can put in here, I feel like we can learn faster.
Right.
Get used
So-
to this process.
What I just wanted to point out, and definitely that can be fixed, but what I just wanted to point out is, let's use police department. Police department 2024 was budgeted for 65 officers. Currently, they have 62 officers, give or take. For that line item, where the salaries come, one of the line items is overtime.
Right.
So when you look at overtime, the overtime may be over, but you have regular salaries that have not been used for 3 officers. So what we normally do internally is we would wait, because we do the month-to-month projections. That's a whole different analysis. I'd be glad to share that with the council members.
Please.
But we've already done the analysis. We are comfortable that police department, even though their overtime may be showing over right now, their one line item, we're already confident that they are projected to finish the year on that one personal service line item positive.
Because you're basically budgeting for ghost officers that you're never going to fill them. And
Well-
if you take those salaries and you split that money up where it needs to be within the personnel line.
I wouldn't say the ghost office, that was never the
It
intention.
wouldn't work it wouldn't work if you fill it. I mean, I've been at this long enough to know, not this administration, other administration. I mean, it's an old trick. That's the reason why IMPD was able to do what they did with those deals, right? They're projected to have a ton of people. That's why they give out those big salaries. I get all that. So if that's true, that your budget reflects like 67 officers, but you only got 64 or something, right?
Well, it's 65 for 24, and believe we got,
So you're taking that money that those other 3, if you had 67, you wouldn't have no money.
then we would come to you for additional
Right,
appropriation.
but I'm saying you're playing with the 3 ghost officer salaries. You're playing with the 3, I mean, that's all I'm saying, that's what you're doing. It's okay, I'm just saying that's what it is, though. I'm trying to understand the book to make it make sense. So you just told me what you're doing, and now I get it.
And so that's why we don't do it from month to month. We do the projections to see where we're going to end, because we could get an officer tomorrow. We could get another officer in.
But we do them by classes, don't we? We don't just have a one-ad rolling out, do we? I don't know, but I get it. I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna leave that to you guys, but it makes the book make sense what you're doing. When we don't understand that, then people, it doesn't make sense when you don't understand the accounting and financial methods that you're using. And those are the type of things that you don't get in the budget workshop. When you guys tell us, go to the budget workshop, you get the education. You don't get that out the budget workshop unless you ask the questions that lead to the correct answer. So that's why I ask so many questions, and that makes sense.
We do take your suggestions very seriously. That's something that can be, we might have to adjust how we do our budget workshops, but the intention is to ensure that you get all that
You
information.
don't say in the budget workshop, I inflate the salaries so that we have cushion for overtime. But that's what if not inflate the salary, but inflate the positions so that we have cushion for overtime. I mean, that's what you just told me. I don't have any more. I mean, I just asked that we did send questions to you that came today, and that the president will get those to you, and I think that those questions will answer everything.
So have the questions going to be emailed? Just want to
Yes.
clarify.
As soon as we leave here.
I texted to you too, so you
Okay.
over.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other
I want them in
questions?
writing, commitments in writing, because you say a lot in talking, but I want it written down, so I
Sure.
can hold you to it.
We'll be glad to do that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Next, we will have citizens' comments. None? Okay, can I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Thank you. We all adjourn. Thank you.